I leaned back in the flimsy chair, staring at the bottom of an empty glass. The dim, flickering light above my head buzzed with just enough irregularity to fray my nerves. A perfect match for the dive bar on Kestrel Station. Nobody came to this end of the galaxy for luxury. The patrons here were the usual suspects: disgruntled traders, low-level criminals, and those looking to disappear. Me? I was a little of all three. Life on the fringe wasn't glamorous, but it was simple. Keep your head down, take jobs that paid in untraceable credits, and avoid the wrong kind of attention. "You want another?" barked a squat, four-armed bartender with mottled orange skin. Her voice was grating, like broken glass in a blender. I glanced at the credit counter and betted in my wrist device. 2 drinks and I'd be broke. Nah, I'm good. She grunted something unintelligible and moved on. My fingers traced the edge of the data chip sitting on the table in front of me, the one I'd been paid to smuggle here from the Vega system. It wasn't much, just another anonymous courier job. If I was lucky, it would pay enough to keep me afloat until the next job came through. But luck wasn't something I was known for. The first sign of trouble was the silence. Kestrel Station was never quiet. Even at this hour, there was always the hum of engines, the chatter of drunk patrons, or the occasional brawl. But now, the room was deathly still. I looked up to see the bartender frozen mid-pour, her eyes wide with fear. The door to the bar hissed open, and a figure stepped inside. 7 feet tall, clad in sleek black armor that shimmered faintly under the flickering lights, the newcomer radiated danger. Its face was hidden behind a featureless visor, but the weapon slung across its back, a twin-barreled plasma rifle, spoke volumes. An assassin. My heart dropped. Not just any assassin either. The armor was unmistakable. Garzik, one of the legendary killers of the Assassin's Guild. Their motto was simple: 1 contract, 1 kill. They didn't miss, and they never failed. The assassin's head swiveled, scanning the room. It didn't take long for the visor to settle on me. "Victor Kane," it said in a metallic voice that seemed to vibrate in my chest. "You have been marked." The patrons scattered like roaches, diving under tables or fleeing through side exits. My chair toppled over as I scrambled to my feet, heart pounding in my chest. "I think you've got the wrong guy," I said, backing away slowly. My eyes darted toward the narrow hallway leading to the back exit. "Your identity is confirmed," it replied, raising a sleek energy blade that hummed to life with a menacing glow. So much for diplomacy. The assassin lunged, and I barely dodged in time, its blade carving a smoking gouge in the table where I'd been sitting. My instincts kicked in, and I grabbed the nearest object, a bar stool, and swung it with all my might. The stool shattered against the assassin's armor, and the force sent me staggering backward. Not a scratch. The assassin tilted its head, as if amused before advancing again. "Think, Vic, think," I muttered, my mind racing. I spotted a loose power conduit dangling from the ceiling, its exposed wires sparking intermittently. A desperate idea formed. I dove to the side, grabbing a metal serving tray from the floor. The assassin slashed at me, its blade grazing my shoulder and sending a jolt of pain through my arm. Gritting my teeth, I hurled the tray with everything I had. The tray hit the conduit, creating a shower of sparks. The assassin hesitated for a fraction of a second, just enough time for me to rip the conduit free and swing it towards its exposed neck. The sparks exploded in a blinding flash as the live wires connected with the armor. The assassin convulsed, its systems overloading, before collapsing to the ground in a smoking heap. I stood there, panting, staring at the motionless body. Holy hell, I just killed a Garzik assassin.
You killed it.
The bartender stammered, her 4 hands trembling as she pointed to the smoldering corpse. I didn't respond. My mind raced with questions. Why had I been targeted? How did the guild even know my name? My work wasn't exactly legal, but it was small time. Petty smuggling and the occasional courier job. Nothing that warranted a Garzik assassin.
Hey,
A voice hissed. I turned to see a wiry man in a patched-up jumpsuit waving me toward the back exit.
you've got to get out of here. Now.
He was right. The guild wouldn't let this slide. Killing one of their own was a death sentence, even if it was self-defense. I grabbed the data chip from the table and bolted for the exit. The man followed close behind, leading me through a maze of narrow corridors and service tunnels. It didn't take long for the guild to respond. The first attack came just hours after we left Kestrel. A sleek black starfighter appeared on our sensors, bearing the unmistakable emblem of the Assassin's Guild, a stylized dagger encircled by a red halo. "They're fast," my companion muttered, frantically adjusting the freighter's controls. "Too fast for us to outrun." "Can we fight?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. The freighter had no weapons to speak of. "No, but we can hide." He steered the ship toward a nearby asteroid field, weaving through the massive, tumbling rocks with impressive skill. The starfighter followed, its energy cannons lighting up the dark void as it tried to draw a bead on us. I gripped the edge of my seat, my knuckles white. "Any brilliant ideas?" "Just one," he said, flipping a series of switches on the console. "Hold on." The freighter suddenly lurched to the side, narrowly avoiding a collision with a spinning asteroid. The starfighter wasn't as lucky. One of its wings clipped the rock, sending it spiraling out of control. "Gotcha," the pilot muttered, a rare smile crossing his face. For a moment, relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. The comms crackled to life, and a cold, metallic voice filled the cabin. "Victor Kane, you have been marked. Surrender, and your death will be swift." I turned to see a second starfighter closing in on us. This one was larger, more heavily armed, and far more intimidating. "Brace yourself!" the pilot shouted. "This is gonna get rough!" The second starfighter unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, forcing us deeper into the asteroid field. The freighter's shields flickered and failed, and alarms blared as the hull took damage. "Do something!" I yelled, panic creeping into my voice. The pilot gritted his teeth. "I'm thinking!" I scanned the cockpit, desperate for a solution. My eyes landed on a row of small cylindrical objects tucked into a compartment near the controls. Explosives. "Give me those," I said, grabbing one. "What are you—" "Just trust me." I moved to the airlock and quickly suited up. The pilot protested, but there wasn't time to argue. As the ship bucked and swerved, I opened the airlock door and stepped into the void. The starfighter was closing in, its weapons charging for a final shot. I gripped the explosive tightly, timing my throw. As the ship passed by, I hurled the device with all my strength. It struck the starfighter's hull and detonated, sending a shockwave through the asteroid field. The ship disintegrated in a fiery explosion, its remains scattering into the void. I floated there for a moment, watching the debris drift past me. "Vic," the pilot's voice crackled over the comms. "You're insane, but it worked." Back on the freighter, the pilot eyed me warily. "I've seen a lot of things in my time, but I've never seen anyone take down a guild assassin, let alone 2. I shrugged, trying to play it cool. "Just lucky, I guess." "Lucky doesn't cover it," he said. "You're different. Humans are different. That's why they're scared of you." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "You don't know, do you?" He leaned back in his seat, studying me. "Humans, we're unpredictable, creative. We think in ways no other species does. Makes us dangerous. Dangerous enough for the guild to target me? He nodded. You're not just a target, Vic. You're a test. The guild's trying to figure out if humans are worth the trouble, and from what I've seen, we are. By the time we reached a safe harbor, the news had spread across the galaxy. The Assassin's Guild had issued a decree. All humans are now high-value targets. The pilot showed me the announcement on a holoscreen, his expression grim. They've never done anything like this before. It's unprecedented. I stared at the screen, a mix of fear and disbelief churning in my gut. What do we do? I asked. He sighed. We survive, and we fight back. As we docked at a small unregistered station, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this than I understood. Why had the guild targeted me specifically? Why now? The answer came in the form of the data chip I'd been carrying. I plugged it into a terminal in the station's dingy lounge, the pilot watching over my shoulder. The screen lit up with a series of encrypted files, and after some trial and error, I managed to decrypt one. The contents made my blood run cold. The holoscreen flickered as the encrypted data scrolled past, casting an eerie blue glow across the station's dingy lounge. My hands trembled slightly as I input the final decryption sequence. Beside me, the pilot leaned forward, his weathered face tight with concentration. By the way, he said suddenly, breaking the tense silence, I'm Rex. Figured you should know the name of the guy helping you stay alive. I managed a weak smile. Thanks, Rex, for everything. The screen blinked, and suddenly the encrypted data transformed into clear text. What I saw made my blood run cold. Project Human Containment, I read aloud. Priority targets for immediate elimination. My voice trailed off as I scanned the list of names. Mine was third on a list of 5. Rex whistled low. Well, that explains the Garzik. They don't send their best unless it's something big. I scrolled through the document, my mind racing. Each name came with a detailed dossier, threat assessment, and rationalization for elimination. The guild had been watching us all, studying us like lab rats. Listen to this, I said, reading from the screen. Human unpredictability represents an unprecedented threat to guild operations. Unlike other species, humans demonstrate an ability to generate novel solutions that defy probability matrices and prediction algorithms. The following 5 subjects have been identified as prime examples of this dangerous trait. Rex grabbed a bottle from behind the bar and poured 2 drinks. They're scared of us, he said, sliding one toward me. Scared of what we might become. I took the drink, barely tasting it as I continued reading. The other names on the list were scattered across different systems. Dr. Sarah Chen on Europa, Captain Marcus Wong in New Singapore, Maya Patel in Neo-Tokyo, and Thomas Drake on the Outer Rim. We need to warn them, I said, downloading the data to my personal device. They won't know what's coming. Rex shook his head. The guild's already moving. We need to do more than warn them. We need to get to them first. A distant explosion rocked the station, causing the lights to flicker. Rex and I exchanged glances. Speaking of the guild, he muttered, drawing a compact laser pistol from his jacket. Time to move. We barely made it to the door when it burst inward, revealing 2 figures in sleek combat suits. Not Garzik this time. These were Shadow Blades, the guild's infiltration specialists. Their armor seemed to bend light around them, making them appear as shifting shadows. I dove behind an overturned table as energy bolts scorched the air where I'd been standing. Rex returned fire, his shots precise but ineffective against their advanced armor. Any brilliant ideas? Rex shouted over the chaos. I scanned the room frantically, noting the exposed pipes running along the ceiling. the station's life support system. "Cover me!" I yelled, scrambling toward the bar. The shadow blades advanced methodically, their movements synchronized with inhuman precision. One of them spoke, their voice a synthetic whisper.
Target acquired. Termination imminent.
I reached under the bar, finding what I hoped would be there, an emergency atmosphere regulator. Every station kept one handy in case of hull breaches. Rex seemed to realize what I was planning. "Oh no," he groaned, but kept firing to draw their attention. I activated the regulator and hurled it at the pipes overhead. The device latched on magnetically and began its emergency protocols, rapidly adjusting the local atmosphere. The sudden pressure change caused the old pipes to rupture with a deafening crack. The Shadowblade's armor, designed for stealth rather than environmental protection, began to malfunction under the extreme pressure differential. Their light-bending technology flickered and failed, leaving them exposed. Rex's next shots found their marks. Both assassins went down, their armor sparking and smoking. "That," Rex said as we sprinted towards his ship, "was either brilliant or insane." "Why not both?" We reached his freighter just as alarms began blaring throughout the station. The guild would have more assassins on the way. They always did. As Rex prepped for launch, I studied the data on my device. "New Singapore," I said. "That's where Captain Wong is. He's closest, and according to this, he's already survived 2 assassination attempts." Rex punched in the coordinates. "What's his story?" "A former military strategist. The file says he's demonstrated an alarming ability to predict guild tactical patterns. They're worried he could expose weaknesses in their operations." The freighter lifted off smoothly, slipping away from the station just as several black guild ships emerged from hyperspace. Rex plotted an evasive course through a nearby debris field. "They're not going to make this easy," he muttered. "They never do." The journey to New Singapore took 3 days, during which we dodged no fewer than 4 guild pursuit vessels. Rex's skill as a pilot was remarkable, but even he was being pushed to his limits. New Singapore was a sprawling space metropolis, its massive arcology towers stretching up from an artificial planetary ring. Millions of beings from across the galaxy lived and worked its endless corridors and levels. "Perfect place to hide," Rex remarked as we approached. "Also perfect for an ambush." He was right on both counts. We managed to dock at a mid-level port, but something felt off from the moment we stepped onto the station. The crowds seemed too thin, the security too casual.
They're already here,
I whispered. Rex nodded slightly.
"Been here a while, I'd guess. Watching, waiting."
According to the guild's file, Captain Wong frequented a traditional Earth-style tea house in the station's Asian quarter. It seemed as good a place as any to start looking. The tea house was located in a quiet corner of level 47, its ancient wooden exterior incongruous among the steel and plastic of the station. A small chime rang as we entered, and an elderly woman greeted us with a bow. The place was empty except for a single figure seated in the corner, a man in his 50s wearing a simple black jacket. He was calmly drinking tea, but I noticed the military precision in his posture. "Captain Wong?" I approached slowly, hands visible. He didn't look up from his tea.
"They said you'd come eventually. Sit."
Rex and I exchanged glances before taking seats at his table. The elderly woman brought us tea without being asked. "You know about the list?" I said. It wasn't a question. Wong nodded.
"Since they sent the first assassin? Sloppy work, really. The guild is usually more subtle."
He finally looked up, his dark eyes sharp and alert.
"But they're not used to dealing with humans, are they?"
"How did you survive?" Rex asked. A thin smile crossed Wong's face.
"The guild relies too heavily on patterns, on probability. They ran thousands of simulations to predict how I would react in an assassination attempt, but they forgot one crucial factor: Humans don't always make logical choices.
The tea house's chime rang again. Wong's smile vanished.
Like now, for instance, he said quietly. The logical choice would be to run.
3 figures entered the tea house. They wore civilian clothes, but their movements were too precise, too coordinated. Guild hunters.
The back exit is blocked,
Wong continued calmly, taking another sip of tea.
They have snipers on the buildings across the street, and a rapid response team waiting in the service corridor below.
You knew this was a trap, I said. He nodded.
Of course, just as I know that in exactly 47 seconds, the station's automated cleaning system will begin its daily maintenance cycle.
Rex's hand inched toward his weapon. How does that help us?
Because,
Wong said, checking his watch,
I spent the last night reprogramming it.
The lights flickered, and suddenly maintenance droids began emerging from hidden panels throughout the level. But instead of their usual cleaning routines, they moved with purpose toward the guild hunters. Chaos erupted. The hunters, caught off guard, found themselves fighting dozens of reprogrammed droids. Their energy weapons proved ineffective against the droids' industrial-grade armor.
Now,
Wong said, rising smoothly,
we have exactly 3 minutes before they adapt.
We ran. Wong led us through a maze of maintenance tunnels and service corridors, expertly avoiding the guild's predetermined ambush points. Behind us, we could hear the sounds of combat as more droids engaged the guild's forces.
The snipers will reposition to Sector 7,
Wong called out as we ran.
We'll take the cargo lift to level 23, then switch to the residential tubes.
He was right every time. Every guild move, every tactical response, he'd already anticipated it. We emerged onto a private landing pad where a sleek courier ship waited.
Impressive,
Rex said as we boarded. Wong smiled grimly.
Simple pattern recognition. The guild values efficiency above all else. Makes them predictable.
As we lifted off, explosions rocked the station. The guild's rapid response team had finally broken through, but too late.
Where to now?
Rex asked, plotting our escape vector. I checked the data again.
Europa.
Dr. Sarah Chen. According to this, she's developing some kind of anti-guild technology. Wong nodded approvingly.
Good choice. The guild will be focusing their forces here for the next few hours, giving us a clear run to the Jupiter system.
As we broke the atmosphere, I couldn't help but ask, why are they so afraid of us, really? Wong was quiet for a moment, watching the stars stretch into hyperspace lines.
Because we're chaos in a universe they've spent millennia trying to order. Every prediction we break, every pattern we defy, proves that their system isn't perfect, and that terrifies them.
A warning light flashed on the console. Guild ships entering the system.
How many do you think they'll send this time?
Rex asked. Wong smiled that thin smile again.
More than they can afford to lose.
As we jumped to hyperspace, I thought about the other names on the list, about the battles ahead. The guild had existed for thousands of years, had never failed a contract. Until now. Until they tried to predict the unpredictable. They wanted to eliminate us because we were dangerous. They weren't wrong about that part. But they made one crucial mistake. They had given us a reason to work together.
How long to Europa?
I asked.
6 hours,
Rex replied.
Assuming we don't run into trouble.
Wong chuckled.
Oh, we'll run into trouble. But that's the interesting part, isn't it? They know we're coming. We know, they know, and still.
He trailed off, studying a tactical display.
And still what? And still they won't be ready for what we do next.
He looked up, eyes gleaming.
Because even I'm not entirely sure what that will be. That's the beauty of it.
I smiled, checking my weapon. The guild had wanted to prove humans were too unpredictable to be allowed to live. Instead, they were about to prove why that unpredictability made us impossible to kill. The ship surged through hyperspace, carrying us toward our next battle. Behind us, New Singapore grew distant, its maintenance droids still causing chaos in the streets. Ahead lay Europa, Dr. Chen, and undoubtedly more guild assassins. They would be waiting for us. They would have plans, predictions, probabilities. We had something better. We had uncertainty. Europa's surface was an endless expanse of ice, broken only by the massive dome of Research Station Omega. As our ship descended through Jupiter's radiation belts, the gas giant's enormous form dominated the view, its swirling storms casting an otherworldly glow across the moon's frozen landscape. "They're being subtle this time," Rex noted, scanning our instruments. "No obvious guild signatures." Wong leaned forward, studying the station's layout on our screens. "They're here, waiting. Probably inside already." "How's Dr. Chen still alive?" I asked, reviewing her file again. "They've had plenty of time to reach her." "Because," a new voice crackled over our comms, "they can't get past my defenses. Not yet, anyway." The voice was female, with a hint of amusement. "But I'm glad you three finally made it. Dock at Bay 7. Hurry." The bay doors opened smoothly as we approached, closing behind us with a reassuring speed. Dr. Sarah Chen met us at the airlock, a small woman in her 40s wearing a lab coat over station gear. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent behind protective goggles. "The Guild's been trying to breach my systems for 3 days," she said without preamble. "They'll succeed in approximately 4 hours. We need to be gone before then." Wong smiled. "You've been watching us since we entered the system, haven't you?" "Of course. Just as I've been watching the 6 Guild assassins currently trying to override my security protocols." She gestured for us to follow. "Come, I'll show you what they're really afraid of." Her lab was a maze of holographic displays and experimental equipment. In the center stood what looked like a portal frame, humming with energy. "Quantum uncertainty amplifier," she explained. "It generates a field that makes it impossible to predict the location or state of anything within it. Even their best AIs can't calculate a successful kill shot if they can't determine where the target will be." "That's why they want you dead," I realized. "This technology can make their entire methodology obsolete." She nodded. "The Guild relies on prediction. Remove that advantage." An alarm blared, cutting her off. "They're ahead of schedule. Impressive." Wong was already moving. "How many ways in?" "Just one. I'm not stupid." She quickly began transferring data to a portable drive. "But they'll bring down the whole station to get to us if they have to." The station shuddered. Rex checked his weapon. "That felt like they're starting with option B." "The prototype," I said. "Can we take it?" Chen shook her head. "Too big, but I have this." She held up what looked like a personal shield generator. "Portable version, limited range, but..." The lab doors exploded inward. Through the smoke came 3 figures in advanced assault armor, their weapons trained on us. Behind them, 3 more took up firing positions. "Target acquired," said in unison. "Termination protocols engaged." Chen smiled and pressed a button on her device. The air around us shimmered. The assassins fired and missed. Every shot went wide, their targeting systems unable to compensate for the uncertainty field. "Fascinating, isn't it?" Chen said, oddly calm. "They literally cannot predict where we are from moment to moment, even though they can see us." "Less fascination, more evacuation," Rex suggested, firing back at the assassins. His shots connected. He wasn't relying on prediction algorithms. We fought our way back to the docking bay, the Guild assassins growing increasingly frustrated as their usual precision failed them. They switched to area of effect weapons, trying to overcome the uncertainty field with sheer firepower. "They're adapting," Wong warned, "learning to anticipate the field's effects." "That's the beautiful part," Chen said as we reached our ship. "The field adapts too. It's alive in a way, constantly changing." The station's integrity alarms were screaming now. The Guild was methodically destroying key support systems, trying to force us out through environmental failure. "Time to go," I said, sealing the airlock behind us. "Who's next on the list?"
"Maya Patel," Wong replied,
already plotting our course.
"Neo-Tokyo. She's been organizing human resistance cells. The Guild's tried to eliminate her 4 times already."
We lifted off as the station began to break apart. Guild ships emerging from hiding to pursue us. But Chen's device was still running, its uncertainty field extending just far enough to cover our ship. Their targeting computers couldn't get a lock. "Think they're angry yet?" Vex asked as we jumped to hyperspace.
"The Guild doesn't get angry," Wong said. "They get precise, calculate, plan."
"That's why they'll lose,"
Chen added, studying the readings from her device.
"They can't calculate their way out of chaos. And humans, we thrive in it."
The trip to Neo-Tokyo took 2 days. We used the time to plan, to share information. Each of us had a piece of the puzzle. Wong's tactical knowledge, Chen's technology, my whatever it was that had kept me alive this long. Neo-Tokyo was a contradiction. Ancient temples and gardens alongside soaring towers of chrome and neon. Maya Patel's resistance operated from the neon canyons, the narrow streets between megastructures where the city's forgotten masses lived in eternal twilight. We found her in an underground club, surrounded by her people. She wasn't what I expected. Young, maybe early 20s, with augmented eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light.
"Took you long enough,"
she said, gesturing to empty seats.
"I've been keeping a trail of breadcrumbs for weeks."
"The assassinations," Wong realized. "You wanted them to find you."
She grinned.
"Every failed attempt brought more attention to our cause. The mighty Guild, repeatedly defeated by mere humans. People are starting to question their invincibility. That's insanely dangerous,"
Chen said.
"That's the point. We're not just surviving their attempts, we're showing the galaxy that they can be beaten, that humans can beat them."
A commotion at the entrance interrupted us. Guild hunters had found us, but this time they came with something new. Massive combat droids, designed to overwhelm with brute force rather than precision.
"Finally,"
Patel said, her augmented eyes flaring.
"Something interesting."
The battle that followed was chaos incarnate. Chen's uncertainty field protected us from direct targeting, while Wong's tactical insights helped us stay ahead of their strategies. Patel's resistance fighters emerged from hidden positions, their intimate knowledge of the neon canyons turning the environment itself into a weapon. And me? I did what humans do best. I improvised. The Guild's combat droids fell one by one, unable to adapt to our constantly changing tactics. Their hunters found themselves trapped and isolated by our unpredictable movements. As we fought our way to freedom once again, I realized something. We weren't just surviving anymore. We were winning. Only Thomas Drake remained, alone somewhere on the outer rim. But now we were stronger, united. And the Guild? The Guild was about to learn just how dangerous humans could be when they worked together.
"Ready for one last rescue?"
Rex asked as we lifted off from Neon Tokyo. I looked at our growing crew. Wong, the tactician, Chen, the innovator, Patel, the revolutionary. Each of us different, unpredictable in our own way. "They won't be ready for all of us," I said. Patel laughed.
"They're never ready for humans. That's what makes this fun."
Our ship turned toward the outer rim, carrying hope with it. The Guild had wanted to eliminate a threat. Instead, they'd created exactly what they feared most. Humans working together, thriving in chaos, embracing the uncertainty they found so terrifying. And we were just getting started. The outer rim was where galaxies went to die, a place of ancient debris and forgotten worlds, where the line between legal and illegal ceased to matter. Perfect hunting ground for a guild that had existed for millennia. Perfect place for their last stand. Thomas Drake's signal led us to an abandoned mining colony orbiting a dying star. The facility's atomic furnaces still burned, casting a hellish glow across its twisted metal surface. "Subtle?" Rex muttered as we approached. "Real subtle." "It's a trap," Wong said, studying the tactical display. "But not like their others. This is different." Chen's uncertainty field hummed softly, its protection more crucial than ever. Patel checked her weapons, her augmented eyes scanning frequencies we couldn't see.
"They're all here," she said quietly. "The entire guild leadership."
I felt a chill. "How can you be sure?" "Because," a new voice cut through our comms, "I told them exactly where to find us." The voice was tired but determined. "This is Thomas Drake. Welcome to the endgame." The docking bay opened like the maw of some ancient beast. We had no choice but to enter. Drake met us in a vast chamber that must have once been the colony's main processing center. He was older than his file suggested, with eyes that had seen too much. "You got my message," he said. "All of you. Good."
"You're working with them?"
Rex's hand moved toward his weapon. Drake laughed, a hollow sound. "No. I'm making them face what they fear most. All of us together. The variables they can't compute. The chaos they can't control." The chamber's shadows moved. Dozens of guild assassins emerged. Every type we'd encountered and more. Behind them stood figures in ornate robes. The guild council itself.
"Welcome, humans."
One of them spoke, voice resonating with artificial perfection.
"You have proven problematic." "That's one word for it,"
Patel said, grinning.
"Your species represents an unprecedented threat to order, to prediction, to control."
The council member spread its arms.
"Therefore, you must be eliminated. All of you. Here. Now."
Drake stepped forward. "You still don't understand. Everything that's happened, every failed assassination, every escaped target, every broken prediction, it was all to bring us here, to prove a point."
"And what point is that, human?"
"That your perfect system, your controlled universe, is a lie." Drake's voice rose. "You can't predict everything. You can't control everything. And trying to eliminate those who prove that, it's already cost you everything." On cue, alerts blared throughout the facility. Patel's resistance cells, hidden throughout the outer rim, launched simultaneous attacks on guild operations. Chen's uncertainty field technology, secretly distributed, activated across dozens of worlds. Wong's tactical insights, shared through hidden channels, helped countless targets escape guild assassins. The council members shifted uneasily. Their assassins raised weapons but seemed unsure where to aim. "Your failure rate has increased 10,000%, Drake continued. "Your contracts are being canceled. Your reputation is shattered. All because you couldn't accept that some things can't be predicted."
"Then we will restore order,"
the council member declared.
"by eliminating its greatest threat."
The battle that followed defied description. Guild assassins, the finest killers in the galaxy, found themselves facing opponents who broke every rule of engagement. Chen's field made targeting impossible. Wong's tactics kept us one step ahead. Patel's augmented senses found weaknesses in their perfect defense. And Drake had rigged the entire facility. Systems failed randomly, gravity shifted unpredictably, and automated defenses targeted friend and foe alike. In the chaos, we were unstoppable. Humans didn't just adapt to chaos, we wielded it like a weapon. The council watched their perfect assassins fall, their perfect plans crumble, their perfect order dissolve into magnificent destruction. Finally, surrounded by the ruins of their forces, the council did something unprecedented. They retreated.
This isn't a surrender,
Their leader declared.
this is a recalculation.
No, Drake said. This is evolution. The galaxy isn't meant to be perfectly ordered. Chaos, uncertainty, free will, these aren't flaws to be eliminated. They're the driving force of life itself. The guild ships departed, leaving us in the dying light of the ancient star. We had done the impossible. We had fought the galaxy's greatest killers to a standstill. 3 days later, the guild issued its final decree on humanity.
The human species is hereby classified as beyond containment. No contracts will be accepted, no predictions attempted. They are to be left to their own devices.
Oh, poetic,
Rex said as we read the announcement.
in their own way, they finally predicted us correctly.
By accepting they couldn't predict us at all,
Chen added, smiling. We went our separate ways after that. Wong to teach others how to think unpredictably, Chen to develop more wonderful, chaotic technologies, Patel to continue her revolution, now without guild interference, Drake to wherever the Outer Rim took him. Me? I went back to smuggling. But something had changed. The galaxy felt bigger somehow, less ordered, more alive. One evening, sitting in that same bar on Kestrel Station where it all began, I raised a glass to chaos, to uncertainty, to the beautiful unpredictability of being human. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, the guild's perfect assassins waited, watched, and for the first time in their ancient history, wondered what would happen next. They couldn't predict it. That was the point.